Greetings, everyone. A while back during BronyCon, I got into conversations with many of the other reviewers and even a few fans of my work. But I must admit, the most interesting discussion I had was actually with Inkrose's mother. She had been attending the convention as a chaperone for Ink, and it was rather intriguing to get an outsider's perspective on our little group. Not just about BronyCon, but also our fandom as a whole. We talked about the many different reviewers that Ink has come to know and even worked with, pointing them out on Ink's rather impressive piece of art of our group, as Toon had provided all of us with little buttons that had this picture on them. One particular thing that Ink's mother had noticed, though, is that many bronies sought to become part of the fandom because they had been feeling rather lonely, and that many of us are, at least in part, living out a fantasy with our online personas. I was quite intrigued by this observation. And you know something? I think she's right. I agree that many of us have become so involved in this fandom because we felt the need to belong, that the way we behave and interact online is actually living out a fantasy, at least in part. So I would like to pose a question today. Does having an online identity that is different from our everyday selves actually help us or harm us in the long run? To be honest, I think it depends on what we are striving for with our internet selves. For example, I've heard stories about people who spend so much of their time online that they completely neglect their jobs, their families, and even themselves. They find normal life so unsatisfying that they simply don't want to face reality. And it wouldn't surprise me if I found out that there are bronies who have adopted this kind of philosophy, who have completely closed themselves off from the world because the brony community has been so welcoming and accepting. I sincerely hope that this isn't the case for anyone, but I must admit, it does sound rather plausible that there would be at least a few others out there who would fit into this category. So, is living out a fantasy with our online personas a bad thing? Not necessarily, and here's why I think so. As many of you already know, I have a career as an accountant. My job has nothing to do with psychology or being a teacher in any way. I spend my days looking at numbers and making sure everything is in its proper place. And while I am very good at my job, I had a lot of difficulty feeling as though I belonged somewhere. I had no friends and very little to keep me occupied during my free time. I felt this need to do something more. I've wanted to find a way to connect with others throughout much of my life. So when I came across the brony fandom and discovered how welcoming and understanding they are, yeah, I wanted to take part, and I began to thrive in ways I never had before. I started making videos and created an online identity that you know as DRWolf. And when I look back at how it all got started, and even how I'm interacting with others online now, I realized that I am actually living out a fantasy with this character of mine. I've had a desire to be both a doctor and a teacher for many years, and now I'm actually starting to achieve that goal, at least in part. Now, if I ever decided to take on this persona through the internet and start neglecting my everyday normal life, this could actually become a bad thing. But I honestly don't see it that way, and here's why. I'm becoming a better person because of this online identity. I am more confident, more outgoing, more patient and understanding. I have improved so much upon my writing, my voice work, my analytical skills. I've become more social than at any other point in my life. Not just so I can make friends, but also because I've discovered that I can inspire others in ways I never thought possible. Could I have achieved any of these things without creating DRWolf? Perhaps, but for the life of me, I honestly believe that I could not have come so far without him, and the brony community for that matter. It is because of the encouragement and creativity of others that I have been able to give so much. Yes, I did join this fandom in part because I was feeling lonely and wanted to belong somewhere. Yes, part of what I'm doing now is actually living out a fantasy. But you know what? I have no doubt in my mind that this is having a positive impact on my life. However, the real question I want to tackle here is, does your online identity help or harm your long-term goals? If you've created a persona to represent who you are on the internet, how is he or she different from who you are in real life? Even if you haven't created a character that personifies your dreams and ambitions in some way, are you a different person in your interactions online compared to how you interact with people you meet face to face? Are you becoming more social, more confident, or improving upon your talents in any way because of your online experiences? Or could it be that your time spent on the computer is causing you to neglect real life in any negative ways? I would like to hear your thoughts about online identities, and here's hoping that we can continue making the Brony fandom into an uplifting community for many years to come. I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.